So good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us conference on 5G and basically how 5G is looking like, what's the future, how is it going to evolve, what are the use cases, and so on and so forth. As all of you know, 5G is something that the world is talking about, and a lot of places are ready, a lot of places are gearing up for 5G, and it is also actually being used in many places. So this meeting that we have is primarily to discuss LTE and 5G from a private network perspective. With so much happening on all fronts, thanks to the COVID global pandemic, thanks to before that the slowdown in economies, thanks to the disruptive changes that technology was bringing in. The last, I think, 2-3 years, and the way telecom technologies, telecom applications, the way they have been growing, I think the impact has been really phenomenal. And now 5G is being set to LTE and 4G LTE and 5G is being set to be the real game changer across all sorts of sectors, all sorts of industries, all sorts of applications. To discuss all this, we have a very eminent panel with us this morning. We have Mr. C.K. Prasad, the Regional General Manager and Head of IT at RailTel. We have Dr. Deepak Kalamkar, AVP Infrastructure and the CSO at Safexpay. We have Mr. Sandeep Sehgal, Head of Enterprise Business at for the Indian market at Nokia, and obviously Dr. N.K. Goyal, Chairman Emeritus, and somebody who's really being the leading light at the Telecom Equipment Manufacturers Association and CMAI. So a very diverse panel, and as I said, we want to discuss about the return of investment from private networks, especially 4G and LTE. What's the actual scene? What's the ground reality? I think that is what we would like to discuss. Maybe since Sandeep comes from the network background, maybe we could ask Sandeep to throw some light in terms of what's happening as far as technology is concerned, as far as some of the international trends is concerned, when it comes to these technologies being deployed for private networks. Sandeep, could we start with your views on this?
Sure. Thanks, Abramji, and good morning to everybody on the panel. So straight going to the question, Abramji, at Nokia, very excited when we talk about private LTE, whether it is, and again, 4G and plus 5G. So internationally, there are more than 350 deployments now, which Nokia has been involved in. Sectors like manufacturing, mining, ports, airports, these are all sectors which have shown great interest, and these are all core sectors where these things have got deployed. The reason is, I think, very simple. With the industry moving towards Industry 4.0, a lot of IoT connectivity, there have been challenges. We have been using the traditional way of networking in our organizations. When I'm saying organizations, mean the industry side of it. It's not working very well. I'll give you a very small example. Even in India, we've done a few POCs in our customer places. Like, for example, if there's a moving crane and you want to measure, the parameters of this crane, and how do you do it, right? If you put up a Wi-Fi infrastructure, it breaks. The connectivity is not very smooth. So that's the area where private LTE becomes a game changer, in fact, if you ask me. So from a technology perspective, it has matured a lot. And the good part is that, when we are talking about private LTE for the industry, what Nokia especially has done is we have shrunk the whole core and the infrastructure. One need not put a large infrastructure like, say, what a typical telco puts in. No, it's a very small infrastructure which goes into the data center. You connect the radios, and through those radios you connect the various devices. So it's been a game changer. Just allow me another 10 seconds. Our own plant in Chennai is a classic example where we have ripped off about 150 kilometers of wires which were connecting the Wi-Fi hotspots. And today all our devices, the AGVs, cameras, the body worn cameras, the various instrumentation which is there in our plant where we make 4G and 5G radios is completely connected on private LTE. It's a showcase which we have shown it to various partners and customers of ours. It's an amazing experience, and when you go and see how it is happening, right? So that's been a game changer, and it is a reality now. As I said, with now more than 350 customers across the globe, it's a reality. It's no longer that, how will it be done? Will it be? Can it happen? Can you deploy such a thing? I don't think so. That's a question which we are seeing right now. In Indian scenario, yes, the customers are, I think we've been there in the market for now about 1 year talking about it. And today is the time when we see a whole lot of customers, the IT folks, the CIOs, CISOs, they've understood it because they've seen it happening now at our Chennai plant, even in some of the customers, locations where we have done these POCs. So it is happening now, and we are very sure it's going to be a great solution, if you ask me, from the industry 4.0, which the industry is today talking about. How do we go towards that?
Thank you, Sandeep. Yeah, I think you have made some very interesting points. And the fact is that private LTE is something which is now a reality. It is being deployed and it is being used. Yes, there are hurdles, there are challenges, which obviously with, I think, time will be sort of will stabilize. Mr. Prasad, I think what Sandeep is indirectly telling all of us and also telling you is that there is a potential use case and a business case. So as somebody who is very active in the telecom space, you have really played a great role as far as taking internet to very, very unconnected and far-flung areas in terms of your own railway network. Your internet network that you have. So for somebody like you, how excited are you or with the private LTE network model? Does it interest you? Do you think, again, because I think the kind of network spread that you have in the entire country, is this something which is something of interest to you? Do you think that this makes sense, business sense, Mr. Prasad?
Definitely, there is a potential for private LTE, but then it has to go through the litmus test of business case. Definitely for smart manufacturing scenarios, maybe for the shipping logistics, for that is for the port connectivity, for mining area, where basically you have very highly capital intensive systems. Going for a private LTE makes a lot of sense, and definitely like RailTel has one of the largest public Wi-Fi network covering around 6,200 stations, and definitely this is for mostly for the requirement from internet browsing perspective to use internet services as such. But when you come to private LTE, you have to see that how you can converge multiple services into this infrastructure, what you're going to create. Maybe, for example, one is the Industry 4.0 smart manufacturing. Another is maybe your entire communication can be there, your voice and data communication payloads. Definitely, we have to also see the capital cost and the operation cost of the private LTE. As Sandeep said, that basically it is a stripped out deployment. It's not a deployment like a telco full-fledged deployment. So definitely, I believe that the cost would be much less in terms of the capex involved. Definitely deploying on an open RAN system and on a basically x86 type of hardware will really help in basically reducing the cost, because you don't have to have proprietary nature of this. Other factor which will play a bigger role in adoption will be interoperability with the existing system. Suppose you want to hand over to between Wi-Fi, and already you have some investment done and you are going to invest further on this. So without removing those systems which still have life, or which has a certain amount of expenditures gone to that. So we have to see with respect to all those parameters. So definitely a business case has to be built around that. And but going for other than these cases, we have to really maybe that option may be slightly slow, but definitely for smart manufacturing, autonomous systems for mining areas where you've got heavy capital equipment and the cost of breakdown is, you cannot afford that type of breakdown, which affects your entire business processes. So that which you cannot afford, that will make a big sense to that. Definitely when you're going to these type of environments, you also have to see that this system's optimized for that environment. For example, the mining area, there are a lot of dust will be there, a lot of humidity, a lot of the temperatures are very high. So this should be able to take care of those things and work seamlessly without any hitch. In a factory environment also, it's like you don't have air conditioned environment everywhere. And definitely it has to see the vibrations, the temperatures, and EMI, EMC, and other things. So those things also become important factor in deployment for this.
Okay, thanks a lot. I think you raised two very important points. And I think ever since IT and telecom has tried to get into business usage, these two things have been very, very important. One is compatibility and sort of meshing in with the existing whatever systems that you have, whether it is Wi-Fi or the other networks. And obviously rugged systems, because there will be a lot of environments where you really need tough equipment. So Sandeep, can I just come back to you? And I'm sure this is not a India specific question. This is a question that people would be asking you across the world, that does it mean, although you said that it's a stripped down thing and therefore the costs involved will not be huge and therefore you can do a little more experimentation, etc. But I think these questions would be there in terms of how does it how easily compatible is it with the existing systems and all, and also if there is something that you can throw on the ruggedness of the network for these kind of, specifically for the kind of applications that Mr. Prasad talked about, whether it's factories or whether it is the mining areas.
Definitely, sure, definitely, Abranji. So there are two elements to it. One is the core, and second is the RAN network. A typical any mobile communication system, right? So the core is anyway, it's on an Intel architecture, which goes in the data center of the industry, whether it is manufacturing, whichever, it goes in the data center. So nobody worries about it, and it's a very compressed kind of a core. And just want to highlight to Prasad Saab that we have both business models: capex heavy, opex heavy, whichever a customer is flexible with and suits the whole ROI or the TCO calculation. So the core goes into the data center, not problem. The radios which are going for the connectivity part, they're the normal standard radios which the CSPs use. Okay. Yes, in case of industry, which is like, for example, a petrochemical industry, which needs a specific kind of enclosure. So we provide those enclosures around the radio so that those don't get affected. But these are not very different radios which a typical telco is using today. From an India specific, there are naturally, we've got both unlicensed and the licensed band radios to support. So there are compulsions or there are restrictions in the unlicensed band. So we have smaller radios. But again, as I said, the radios don't change. Whatever our friends Airtel or Vodafone or Jio, they use the same thing which is going in these private LTE solutions for the customer. Now, depending on the frequency, depending on the allocation, depending on the how do you cover it, whether you need a 5 watt or 10 watt, that's basically changes once we go and do a survey of a typical plant. And a very interesting or important aspect which Mr. Prasad mentioned about using the existing infrastructure. Yes, when we are talking about a factory which is, say, a person wants to cover both inside and outside. So naturally inside, we look at whether we can exist with the existing Wi-Fi, and we seek the dark spots and how can we, cover those dark spots with private LTE, and also use the existing Wi-Fi and integrate them. And when it is outside, again, one can see, whether we can cover everything using a radio, or we can cover a specific spot with the Wi-Fi and then integrate it. So it's not that I'm going to, replace everything or throw everything. It's very important, because somewhere maybe the radio might not, or the cover, right? There might be some scenarios, but there are many scenarios which we have seen that the Wi-Fi is not covered, right? So it's going to be an integrated, sir, definitely, and that's a very, very critical piece to make this whole piece, the whole ROI and the TCO successful.
Let me come to you, Dr. Deepak. You are a typical customer. You are a user, and if Sandeep and Mr. Prasad, they join hands and they come to you saying that, oh, why don't you deploy a private LTE network? So what are some of the concerns that you have as a business organization, as somebody who has the need, wants to consider using a private, rolling out a private LTE network? So what are some of the questions that you will have for them? What are some of the concerns that you would like to share with them? Maybe you can first perhaps also talk about some of the key challenges that you are facing, where a solution like a private LTE network might solve some of your problems.
I agree. I will take a point from Sandeep and Prasad. They told that, see, private LTE is basically a need where internet is not possible in remote locations. Okay. So if you have a factory at a port, on a port where internet is not feasible, so private LTE is a good way over there. But our concern, my main concern is about the cost only. Like Sandeep said, that the cost will be low. But as per my knowledge, I think so that first the installation cost will be high, and gradually when we add on things, the cost will get reduced. So major concern is the cost only. When we go to the management that's saying that we want a private LTE, we can set up over on in our factory area, the primary cost is high. So the major concern is that only, the cost, the first installation cost.
Anything else besides cost is there?
No, besides cost, no, because we had already implemented private LTE in one of our ports.
Yeah, we would either Sandeep or Mr. Prasad, would you like to respond to?
Yeah.
So for him, I think cost is and for everybody, cost is a very important question.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I would just add here to clarify that. See, cost depends when you're using a particular, what value you are getting from that investment. So suppose you're using that particular infrastructure only for, let us say, IoT. But if you use that infrastructure even for, let us say, other stakeholders, for example, in the port, you'll have maybe your freight forwarders are there. You have like Indian Coast Guard maybe there. You have customs is there. You have a lot many logistic companies are there. If they can also use the same infrastructure by network slicing and other things, and you can you'll be in a better position to monetize that, or you have a better business case in doing that. In addition to that, if you have a, let us say, parallel system of let us say a VHF system, wireless system for communication, voice communication, you can bring that also on this system. So that way you don't have to run multiple infrastructures. Your OpEx can be reduced. If you want to phase out, let us say, walkie-talkie sets or some Tetra systems people use, older systems.
Yeah.
So you can migrate to that. So because you get on a 5G type of system, you can use for voice and data. You can have, let us say, for maintenance of, let us say, a particular system, we can use like mobile phones, and through that we can have a use case where you can somebody can guide you through a video, for example. So which a video presently is not possible to actually transport to basically a worker who's at site from this, let us say, the port location where the admin office is there, or where the port controller is sitting. So those type of things, if it is brought together, I think the cost will not be a factor.
Thanks, Prasad sir.
Thanks, Prasad.
Yeah, interesting. So basically, you are talking about maybe considering this network for various other applications also, and perhaps also letting out your capacity to some other users who can sort of pay and use that capacity. So that's typically what's the kind of you see, initial cost might appear to be a little high, but if how quickly is the return on investment? Is there some study or some trend that we have seen that this was deployed and within so much time this was recovered, money was recovered, or the benefits were such huge that is there some kind of a study or some trends that either Sandeep or Mr. Prasad can talk about?
So let me just share. So you're absolutely right. Cost is very key. And as I said, even 2 years back when Nokia entered into this space globally, these are the questions which we were asked. Definitely, what is the ROI, TCO? Because people were still not, comfortable, moving from the older or the traditional way of doing things. So we started a little slow, but as I said, with 350 plus customers, this has been the whole ROI and TCO is the key to success of private LTE. I'll just share what we have done in India also from that perspective. Although Chennai is our own plant, so naturally our whole decision to move from say Wi-Fi or a typical other connectivity solution to private LTE the commercial naturally played a lot of role that we could not be going on investing. But I'll tell you another large manufacturing organization in India. It's a big organization house. We started with only 2 use cases, and we had a tough time, for 3 months to make them, convince that private LTE is the way to go. Today, we are at a stage where the customer, after hearing us, after understanding, today he's himself got another 8 use cases, and we have actually kind of worked out, okay, for every use case, as Prasad Sir rightly said, what is the benefit ultimately you're getting, So if a motor, we are able to tell that a motor is going to go or fail because we are able to capture the sensor data, that's going to help the industry, right? So today, in that large organization, we started with some 2 years of ROI. Today we are down to less than a year. After getting say 9 or 6 use cases, we are now down to less than a year, and we already done a POC in one of the locations of this customer, and he's amazed to see that how we can get data from various devices which he was not able to get. He has tried all kind of options, and he was not able to get the data. So today he's seeing that advantage. So definitely he has to see that if I'm able to get that data and act upon it, first is that he was not able to get the data. Today he's actually getting the data, and he will be then using the data to maybe better his whole production cycle or whatever, the outputs. So that's where it has made a lot of change for us. And as rightly said, naturally people look at cost. I'll just bring another perspective here, Ibrahimji, that like in India, we've got an unlicensed spectrum. This is a Wi-Fi spectrum, which is there, which is from the government. Although there are restrictions for the radio usage there, but then there are also a licensed spectrum, which the telcos use. So when we go to a customer, we evaluate, what is his need, what is his use cases. Can he go with an unlicensed spectrum? Because that brings down the cost dramatically, because you're not paying for the spectrum charges to the operator. You don't have to pay the AGR charges which the operator will charge you. So the cost comes down drastically when you go to unlicensed part. The only challenge with the unlicensed spectrum in India is that the many devices not available, because it is such a spectrum where the device ecosystem is not that strong. But yeah, this is what we evaluate. What are the use cases? And another interesting aspect which Prasad Sir mentioned was, getting all your communication needs onto one platform, whether it is voice, video, or data. So you combine everything. Right now, we have got 2 different or 3 different channels, 3 different systems running in an industry. So how can you converge everything on this platform, which is a very secure platform? And that's where the actual, ROI or a TCO comes out.
Yeah, I think a good reply to what Dr. Deepak pointed out as a big concern. Let me come to you, Dr. Goel. You are a veteran and you have seen all sides of the telecom industry, and you have the knack of bringing up issues which otherwise would have gone unnoticed and people would have not even thought about it, and then they come up as a challenge or they come up as a roadblock. So the private LTE model, the costs involved or the other things that are there which will either make it happen or make it difficult to implement. So what are some of your views on this private LTE deployments, and what do you think about it?
Thank you, Ibrahim, and thanks to Voice and Data for bringing such a nice speakers and panelists here. And I also want to compliment you on this topic of private LTE for 4.0. Now, there are two fundamental things. The technology goes on changing, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. The surprising thing is, till we heard of 5G, we have never heard of use cases. We have never, spoken how we will use 3G or 4G or 2G. It is only for 5G we are talking of use cases. Now, to me, as an ordinary man, I am confused. If it is 5G, is very much very good technology, all those things fine, etc., etc. But is there a need for us to market the use cases? That is the one thing. So this is something surprising in 5G. And even though 5G is still being implemented, we are talking of 6G and beyond 6G also. So technology is, this is the way to go. Now I have around 6 points to say one by one. One is that I have already covered these use cases. Another is we have so much of reliance.
You see, the way I look at it, I'm sure the experts here will be able to give a better answer to this question. But I think the 5G also is now getting into the area of business applications, and it is especially this entire concept of, not concept, this entire thing about industry 4.0 and the industrial IoT. See, very soon the number of internet devices or the number of connections will be far more than human beings. People are talking of some 20, 30, 40 times of number of connections which are there compared to human beings. There will be homes, there will be machines, there will be all sorts of things. So I think use case therefore becomes a little more important in the case of 5G. Please go ahead with your rest of the points.
Actually, I'm just responding to your thing. What I wanted to say, so far, we never talked of how we will use 4G or 3G. Now, because technology has come as a 5G, encompassing everything, IoT, M2M, etc., etc., etc. Now we are trying to prove that it is a useful technology. That's what the point is.
No, I think Sandeep will respond to it in a more better way. But the fact is, yes, that the G seems to be endless: 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, and recently I got an invitation to join a webinar on 6G. So where will this end?
Yeah, actually, in India, we in TIMA were first to form India 6G forum about a year back.
Yeah.
So the point. I mean,
yeah, coming back to the point. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So it's not. So that was one point. Now I have 6 points. One, I have covered use cases. Second, somehow we are giving so much of reliance on the TSPs. The TSPs have their own issues about financial health, about spectrum, etc., etc., etc. What is needed is, as you are saying, like this is my third point, like 4.0 or smart manufacturing. And I'm told, but to me, it looks today as if I am wrong to say so, that there is no policy of the government to give spectrum to users. Spectrum is given generally to telecom operator and not to the user. So we used to say, and I have also said it before the parliamentary committee, that there is a big need for a policy to give spectrum to users. My fourth point was slightly different from this topic of 4.0 private LTE. This 3GPP talks of security issues after it has been attacked by somebody. There is no talks how to go into preventive type of things for as regards the so-called national security issues. My fifth issue, very controversial. I say emphatically that there is no effect of radiation and there is no bad effect. But the problem I foresee is nobody talks of that thing. With so much of infra, so much of small cells coming up, nobody talks and nobody even says that let's study this or let's find out, survey this. Last point, which is
So
also,
you are talking about the impact on environment and those kind of.
all those things. All those. And I'm repeating, I am saying it doesn't exist, but the point is nobody is talking for that. लोग बात भी नहीं कर रहे हैं इसके वास्ते. That is the one point. And otherwise, somebody could say, okay, we want to do a survey, we want to find out something, nobody talks. And last point, which is another controversial point from my side, is the Make in India. Now, with the BSNL 4G tender looking to be successful because of XYZ, there are hopes that can we have 5G also in India? And basically, in the case of BSNL 4G, 5G, they say we will do the both. So these are some other odd issues, and I will leave it here for the time being.
So are you saying that if we jump into 5G, then again manufacturing in India will not be as relevant as it is with 3G and 4G?
No, actually, whenever a new technology comes up, whether it is 3G or 4G or 5G or 6G coming up, naturally, India is not in the forefront of technology.
Yeah,
So
I'm saying from that perspective only.
Yeah.
That's what you mean.
So in that way, we are not going to be the lead for that
Okay.
manufacturing.
Okay. Yeah.
And we will have to depend on other countries for this thing. But somehow, because of 4G in the BSNL tender, there are hopes now in the mind of government and stakeholders. If we can make 4G in India now and with Open RAN, etc., can we think of 5G also? That's I'm leaving it here. I will leave it here. Thank you.
I think Mr. Goel has taken up all the questions that I had thought I will ask. I think it's very good, and I think you guys can now decide who would like to go first and address the questions that Mr. Goel has raised.
A couple of things. Yeah, I can respond to that.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, one is the internet traffic. If you see, 70% plus is basically the short duration videos. So videos takes a lot of bandwidth. So normally 2G, 3G is not designed for that type of services.
Application. Yeah.
I'm talking about India specific. And during the pandemic, the internet traffic has increased by almost fourfold, 400% jump in internet traffic. People working from home. So you can say that there are multiple offices. Everybody working from home is one office. So that was basically we saw the traffic coming on the internet side. So to handle these things, you really have to have a 5G type of network to support this growth, rapid growth of or demand for bandwidth for the internet services. Definitely, as you rightly said, that since machine-to-machine communication will become feasible with 5G technology. So that is another use case and strong pitch for 5G. Obviously, the social impact or basically the impact on the health hazard and other things are to be taken care of by designing the radios in a way that the SAR, what we call specific absorption ratio, is within the tolerable levels, within what WHO prescribes. So that has to be kept in mind. We should not radiate a power more than what is required, and design in such a way that those impacts are lessened, or basically the harmful effect is not there for the people who are or the residents who are there where the tower is erected. So I've come to know that Reliance has already has a 5G stack. They've developed the 5G stack, and 5G is all in the software layer. So India is very good in software. Definitely, India is one of the powerhouse for IT, and the hardware which is there, I think, is much less compared to 4G or 3G. So manufacturing as such, it should not be a challenge. Only thing is, in India, we have to really see the ecosystem, what is available today. Like we don't have a fab for making silicon, and we have to depend. In fact, if you see the top 3 imports, apart from oil, the other is basically the chips.
Yeah.
For various, whether it is automotive or it is
telecom or IT or
IT, yeah, or any other device, electronic device. So we have to develop that ecosystem first to really start manufacturing in India in a large scale, because the main thing here is the supply chain.
yeah.
Supply chain becomes extremely important here, because when you are assembling in India, in fact, the mobile phones, we are not making in India actually. If you see,
Assembling in India.
this is all assembly which we are doing. Definitely, we have to also look for how we can basically make some of the components in India slowly go next level. And the supply chain becomes very important when you are doing assembly, because one particular item may jeopardize your entire production. So you have to have sourcing, how we are doing the sourcing. So as we know that recent times, people are talking about a lot of nationalist things and other things which are coming. Most of the countries are doing that. So, but the fact remains that we were a connected economy. We are all the global economy, the connected economy. We cannot really break it in a day and say, okay, now we can detach or we can become an island.
Yeah.
That is not practicable. Definitely within the gamut of all the things, we have to see that how we can have a roadmap or policies which facilitates Make in India, and the Prime Minister vision of Atmanirbhar definitely goes into that. So 5G, I think challenges are much less, if I put it that way, because its entire stack is on software there.
Yeah.
And which India has a good, basically, you see human resources and the skill set, the capability to do that.
So a heavy software component also makes it lesser expensive.
That's it.
So I think the challenge on the cost front should also be reduced because of 5G technology being primarily around software.
Goel Saab, I think first point or maybe the third point, I'm missing that. So Goel Saab is right. We had 2G, 3G, 4G, now 5G, and suddenly people are, thinking use case. What is the use case? Yeah, you very valid point, and that's what we have seen. Till the time nobody was talking about going beyond the traditional telecom network which the telcos are operating and giving us as a voice or a data. We have a phone, we can make a call, we can use WhatsApp, browse, watch movies, blah blah blah, whatever it is. Yes, once organizations like whether it is Nokia or other people, we went to the whole mode of taking this telco to the industry. Taking the whole telco model to the industry. That's where the use case is. Now the industry has seen, oh, I can do this also. I can do this much more easier. That's where the whole concept of use cases have come out, Goel Saab. And when we come to 5G, I think I will agree with you. People are still struggling with those use cases, specifically in the industry, because people have not tried 4G. Okay, we have not even done 4G in private LTE in India, at least. Now we are talking 5G. Naturally, 5G is a little more expensive than 4G. What could be that compelling use case for a 5G, right? So in fact, since we are doing a trial with all the three telcos on the 5G, it was a very interesting discussion which we used to have with all the three telecoms. What we should show. One is typical, you show a video download, it is downloading at, say, in a blink of an eye, whatever it is. That's a very standard, application. Voice anyway goes ahead with your typical 4G also. Voice is not a concern in 5G. So we also then went out, spoke to the industry. Like I personally met a lot of startups, who are there into robotics, who are doing a lot of warehouse kind of applications, and they're struggling with the whole, connectivity piece. Is 5G the right answer? I don't know. But 4G definitely is the right answer for them. 5G might be an overkill for that kind of industry. I'll give you one example of, 5G use case, which one of our customers in Europe is using, Lufthansa is using, in fact, because of this pandemic. Naturally, people were not, the maintenance guys were not coming to the airports to maintain aircrafts, and you have to maintain aircrafts, right? So they came out with a when we went and spoke about private LTE and our whole story, they said, oh, great. Why don't we use 5G? We'll use our 4K cameras. A worker is going to the aircraft using a 4K camera. He's showing to the backend that this is the status. What should I do? Should I change the, some component or not? So that was the one use case which they figured out. Whether 4G would have worked but then they're using 5G there. Other manufacturing industry like say Daimler or Bosch, they are using 5G for the whole robotic kind of application, because these guys are building robots and they're being deployed in the industry. So they are using that application, especially 5G in the robo side of it. in industry automation. But yes, goals are very, very relevant that aaj se 2 saal pehle ya 1 saal pehle bhi nobody spoke about use cases. Now it's all about use cases. And I think with the investment which a telco will be doing in a typical 5G scenario, definitely these use cases and going beyond a normal user like you and me, which uses only a mobile phone for communication, talking, or internet browsing, where can they go and make money, right? How can they monetize the investment which they are going to do? That's going to be very, I think that's what the telecom vendors or the telco operators have figured it out, that this is a gray area which they've not gone, or a virgin area they've not gone, and this is where they can capitalize the investment which they have done. Just give you an example, like in mining areas or in large manufacturing areas, these guys have gone and put up their towers, their infrastructure. Now spectrum is hardly used there, because spectrum in Delhi, if you ask for spectrum to them, they don't have it. You go to Mumbai, no way. Like we went to GMR, GVK airports, they found our private LTE solution so compelling for the tarmac, but unfortunately there was no spectrum, right? And you can't do with an unlicensed spectrum. But now you go to a manufacturing area, which is say in a remote beyond Varanasi, or you go to say in Nasik, where the users are less, but there is a lot of spectrum. No, so that spectrum is going waste. They're not monetizing it. So in case of private LTE, that's where they have figured out that, oh, I can monetize the spectrum, which is lying unused, right? Nobody's using it. So that's the I think that is also now compelling them when they're coming to investment in 5G. How can they monetize the spectrum, which they'll be paying a huge fees, right? And they're going to put that infrastructure. So that's where Goel Sahab, the use cases now being spoken about. And I think that will be very good for the industry. And one last point, Goel Sahab, which you also mentioned and your organization can help, as you mentioned that, industry needs a spectrum. Like, for example, now railways is getting a spectrum, right? So railways can use that spectrum for so many other things beyond the signaling, from the IoT based application. Similarly, when we talk about industry, they are tied to the CSPs or the telcos. Unlicensed is not a very good spectrum in India. In US, the reason why private LTE took over was the CBRS band. It was a band which normally Navy uses, but it's a very good band. You got the devices. And today, that whole industry there, even the energy ecosystem has using private LTE because the spectrum is available. It's a free spectrum, right? So people are not worried about the charges which one pays for the spectrum. So industry, if the government wants to uplift this whole industry in terms of, making it smarter, making it going towards 4.0, I think the government should now give a certain spectrum to the industry and let the industry use it. I'm sure a lot of automation will happen and we will see that growth. And when we are talking about Atmanirbhar and, we are talking about making these high-end technology products, it's going to go a long way. So that's where I think your organization will help us to work on that base.
Can I come in?
Yeah, Goel Sahab, you raised this issue of a spectrum policy not being there and a need for a spectrum policy for the organization, the users. So can you throw some light on what's happening there? Is it even there on the table or?
Okay. First of all, I'm happy that Sandeep responded on the use cases very nicely. And I will tell you, because we were grilled by Parliamentary IT and Commerce Committee on this issue for hours together. Now we explain them this way. Sir, as of now, government is thinking of auctioning spectrum and only 3-4 private operators will participate. If government decides, suppose AIMS, for example, feels he has a good use case of 5G, because at a flick of second, on a patient lying on the bed, they can take X-ray, they can take all parameter, they can transfer here and there.
AIMS, you mean the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Delhi? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, AIMS. Okay.
So we explained them that in that case, AIMS say, oh, I want 5G because by this way I can take decisions fast between doctors, experts, etc., etc. Then AIMS will be responsible for giving space for towers or small other thing, and AIMS will be allotted spectrum. Now, after getting spectrum, as is done in the case of Ford company in Germany, which is a now case of 4.0. Now AIMS becomes the user, and he sees the value. So that is the point. And India, as of now, we don't have a policy to allow spectrum to the users. That was the point. Now,
so my question was that yes, that's the current status. But is there any recommendation which has been made on these lines?
Okay, as of now, TIMA is the only body who has recommended this directly and also through Parliamentary IT Committee. but let me confess that we are not getting support from other stakeholders, because operators will not be happy if spectrum goes to them. Very
So
simple.
COAI will not give this recommendation. Can NASSCOM give this recommendation? Can NASSCOM also fight for this?
We have not been able to get success so far.
Okay.
So we are the lone person asking for this. Now
Sorry.
I also want to respond to Mr. Prasad saying that it is for designer to take care of the health parameters. I want to bring in a topic unrelated 5G-I. 5G-I was developed by Indian IIT Madras, and there is lots of things going on. But the interesting point is 5G-I said that they will use 26 dBm against 23 dBm, which is the normally used in the phones. Now there was a big hue and cry by lots of foreign companies. How can you use 26 dBm? But then as team have informed them that even today in Korea, they are using 26 dBm. So the point I want to tell you is that the designer of the technology is much more worried for the speed, for lowest latency rather than all other parameters. That was the point to this. As regards fab, again, fab is a talk of the town now also, because now lots of ministers and government is talking for fab. They have invited some bids, etc., all those things. And I am one of the persons who is very well known to speak on fab, and our recommendations are also with the government.
Fab was the talk of the town 25 years back also.
It will be after 25 years also. Why? Because now what we have been saying is, it is not the question of incentive being given by the government. Government may give $1 billion, $5 billion, $20 billion, $100 billion. That's not the point. The point is, does government intend to have the fab as a mission-made mode project, like we have done for the vaccines, like we have done for ventilators, like we have done for other space parameters? Why? Because if in one line, if you take the last case of Hindustan Semiconductors, they were approved the incentive, etc., all funds arranged, and why they failed? Because one question was asked by investors from US. After we make fab after 3 years,
who will buy them?
No, that was not the point. The point is, are you going to ask us to compete with existing vendors of Taiwan, China, other things? Are you giving us some type of relief or package incentive? Government could not answer. So I have been most vocal in fab. Even now I have been saying to the government and I've written to all government that, sir, whatever you say is fine. You go on talking, go on inviting offers. But are you in a position to commit? If not, then fab is a dream. It will remain dream. We will have after 25 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Goyal. I think important points that you have raised, but perhaps we will take them up when we are discussing telecom manufacturing and fab manufacturing for telecom. So coming back to this private LTE and what's the future in India. So anybody would like to talk about what are the likely areas in India where one can see private LTE getting some acceptance and some deployments? Anybody can respond to this. Everybody can respond to this.
So I'm very hopeful. I'm a sales guy. I'm with Nokia and I'm in selling private. Yeah. So definitely very hopeful. As I said, we've been on the ground for the last more than a year, although COVID hit us. So it actually took us back by nearly 6 to 7 months. But even during this time, we had a lot of virtual sessions of our Chennai plant and a lot of excitement to the industry. And we today have at least 20 to 25 live discussions going on with the customer at various stages. Some are early, but most of them are at a very, very mature stage where we have also gone and now after COVID, in the current time, we've even gone and done POCs on ground. So in my view, it's we see a very, very a good future or a bright future for private LTE. One is that as a Nokia perspective, one is the technology piece you're bringing, but I think our focus has been more on the use case, the end customer, what is he going to use for? That's what we've been focusing on. And with our wealth of experience from global, when I spoke about few segments, we know, say mining, what are the challenges? Plus, we've been also working with these like Komatsu, who works very well in the mining segment, as an organization. So we've been working with these OEMs to integrate their application on this private LTE, whether it is 4G or 5G. So we are very hopeful. And like with railways getting a spectrum, it's going to be a private network for them, right? One is the voice communication, but definitely there are so many use cases which railways can develop using that whole, infrastructure. We are already doing something for the defense. Again, it's a private network. Apart from the voice communication, the surveillance, like the Navy surveillance, projects are being driven on private LTE. So there are a lot of applications which are happening, and as I said, we are very hopeful from Nokia perspective that this market will open up in a big way.
So besides, you talked about railways and defense, but besides that, in terms of the discussions which are going on for Nokia in India, what are the kind of companies are these? In what areas are they?
So three key verticals or three key segments: manufacturing, large manufacturing, which also now includes power generation, and those kind of companies. Mining, as Prasad Sahab also said, mining is a very key segment, and the ports, whether it's the container ports or sea ports. Unfortunately, airports we are not able to address because of the spectrum issue, which is there with the there's no spectrum with the operators right now. We hope that once 5G comes in, they will have that extra spectrum. We can do some slicing and offer it to the airports. Very interestingly, by the way, when you in an airport, when you look at it, everything is connected inside the airport. But as soon as you go on the tarmac, that's the challenge even is today, and that's what we have done with many airports outside India, in Finland and even in Singapore and other airports. Good part was there was spectrum available, and we could, as soon as the plane lands, the connectivity starts happening, with these private LTEs, so all your vehicles which are running around in the tarmac, your people who are there on the tarmac, so they use one common communication mode, whether it is voice, video, applications, and we are solving that problem on the tarmac. But India, because of the spectrum issue, we have not been able to. Although, as I said, airports were very excited and they keep calling us, but unfortunately, we can't offer them anything because there is no spectrum.
So, Dr. Deepak, I think you have heard most of these speakers. So, after hearing them, what's your response? What do you think is likely to happen as far as private LTE?
Yeah, even I heard things like Sandeep also showed that the cost will be low now, depending on 5G when it comes. So we'll definitely try going for a private LTE in our remote locations where we have our offices, like near the ports where internet visibility is not there. We'll definitely try private LTE.
Any other observation?
No, as far as per Prasad and Sandeep talk, it will be a boom actually to remote areas like behind Nasik, you can say, where the spectrum is not used, like Sandeep said, like Nandurbar areas, deep areas, remote areas where internet is not there right now, but telcos are there.
Yeah.
Like BSNL is the main telco who is in remote areas.
Brahmji, I have a query if I can raise.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Actually, everybody talks that 5G will be very good for remote areas or the area which are unconnected. I'm not sure how will go to village Timbuktu where there is no internet as of now, there is no backhaul. If anybody can guide me.
So definitely, sir, one needs to get the mobile connectivity there. Okay, so for them to offer any kind of services, but as I said, 5G could be an overkill in these areas. Even I think 4G, if you can get it, it's good thing.
Sandeep, one thing I'm very particularly happy because I was saying about a week back or month back, please tell me a single use case which is compelling, which we can't do on 4G. And you have been saying that most of things we can do on 4G. So that's a nice to hear. But I know of lots of things which can be done by 5G, 4G. Like
definitely.
Like the example of AIMS, or like example of Ford, or like say Maruti Motor, if they want to have the thing connected. But as I said before, the key there is spectrum to them.
Correct.
Yeah,
So-
I think the big difference between 4G and 5G will also be the quality of experience.
Yeah,
You know, you are using 4G today, and you know the kind of challenges as a user, as a end user that we all face. And one of the big promises of 5G, I am made to understand, is that because of the speed and because of the reach, etc. And
Yeah.
the quality of experience to the end users and even to the organizational users or will be far superior than what it is with the 4G today.
Even the latency is much less in 5G.
Yeah.
Which adds to the
Experience, yes.
experience. Yes.
So it's like, so like somebody is trying to do a digital twin, right? Those kind of applications, they need high speed, low latency, because you're sitting somewhere and doing something else somewhere, like Dr. Golsa mentioned about AIMS. Actually, doctor is somewhere else. He's doing an operation. You can't have a latency there. You have to be like the connectivity has to be as if he's there physically present and doing it. So those are very specific areas, where definitely you can't do with a 4G. Else we could have been, doing things with 4G. You need 5G. You need high speeds.
So my last question, we are running out of time, and I think we will manage. My last question is first to Dr. Deepak, and the same question is to Sandeep and Mr. Prasad also. Is that Dr. Deepak? So, what is your cost was one major thing that you want the technology companies as well as the service providers to address. But is there anything else besides cost that you would like the technology companies and the operators to think about to work on?
See, Ibrahim, major concern was the cost only.
Okay.
Rest the setup and other things, like Sandeep also mentioned, that they can incorporate the setup which is there.
Yeah.
We can use it.
Okay.
So that's a good thing, that we can use our setup and we can add on with 4G LTE and we can go on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So Sandeep and Mr. Prasad, anything else that you feel should be put in place, whether it is from the government or whether it is from the policymakers or whether it is from the enterprise users, that you think is required, that you think needs some effort, that you want from the government or the policymakers or the enterprise users, so that the private LTE networks become successful, and then they are able to do the kind of things that they can do? Any expectation that we did not discuss here?
One thing which I would definitely like to add here is that to make a business case for private LTE, one can basically look at energy management. So, for example, in most of these ports and other areas, you have basically a lot of the equipment or the motors or devices which consume huge amount of power and energy, and sometimes they're idling. So you can it's unnecessary waste of power again. So if basically using this technology, if they can also deploy energy management on top of this as an application, the savings will be enormous, which will actually make a case for deployment of private LTE. Definitely the points which have been put up by Dr. N.K. Goyal and the fellow panelist, it's important also to see holistically how we can, private LTE can integrate with the entire other ecosystems which are there, is also extremely important, because we cannot have islands. And as we see today, in rural areas, we hardly have proper coverage of 2G itself. So, like for example, Airtel has still not upgraded their 2G cell sites in very remote areas. Like we are providing smart classroom for basically government schools in the state of Andhra Pradesh. We are connecting around 354 schools, and these are all in locations which are very far off from the railway station or bus stand. And there is no communication. Even Airtel is not able to provide communication. We have laid aerial fiber to some of the locations. We have done various methods. We have used RF, fiber, all combinations to connect these locations. And we are connected them on basically 4 Mbps MPLS network, so that we can have video collaboration. We can basically the content of the to provide blended learning to these all the government schools. These are basically Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya, so girl child. And we faced a lot of challenges with telcos. None of the telcos could give us feasibility to provide connectivity. So for let us say 80% of the schools. So we went with different models, different means of connecting the last mile, and to deliver the services. So still in rural areas, people have not. Still we have 2G, and it is a long way to go with 4G and 5G. So except for maybe the remote industry, which as a closed loop system they can use it.
Yeah.
Integrate their SAP ERP system or do that. As a closed loop, it's feasible, but as a total integrated system, it's still the telcos have to upgrade, bring that backhaul, as Dr. N.K. Goel has. Right? So backhaul is always a challenge. Fiberization is very important.
Yeah.
And other things. So these are to be handled together.
Yeah. Sandeep, I can give the last word to you. Would you like to share some other expectations which you think are really required for this entire technology to succeed commercially as well as for the society?
Yeah, definitely, sir. Thanks a lot for that. And one is for the industry to come and explore this. As I said in the beginning, in India, the industry was not, they were not ready. They did not even know whether, a private LT could be a technology piece to be used in their part. So definitely now the CIOs or the CEOs, they're opening up, they're looking at this technology. Maybe they open up, more and more industry should open up and come and explore with whether it is Nokia, whether it is other people, and explore the power of private LT, in their space. Second is for the government, as I mentioned, the unlicensed band is not a very
just to sort of, when you say explore, so do you have some kind of programs where enterprises can come to you and talk to you, and you can show them something which is relevant for them, which is for their kind of industry? Do you have some such programs which are running?
Yeah, definitely, sir. So as I said, we have normally we used to take our partners and customers to Chennai, to our own plant, to share it with them. But now because of COVID, people are not able to travel. So we conduct a very well, orchestrated 1 hour virtual tour of a plant where a person can physically be on a Zoom thing like this and see what is happening in the plant on a live basis, right? And experience the whole power. And thirdly, we are also having, we've got partners now, and we've got kits in India. So we've got 2 kits now in India, which is there on the unlicensed band, where we can work with the customer, do a live POC in his scenario, put the kit for 15 days and take it off. If they're happy, they can go ahead. Otherwise, we take it off and, we move it to the next customer. So we have got all models done. The last point is for, like, if the government can really, and Goel sir can really help us to get a little decent spectrum for the industry, where, because maybe 5 out of 10, cases we are good to go with, or 6 out of 10 we are dependent on CSPs, and out of they say that 6, even 50% they don't become very viable because of the spectrum issue, because maybe the Airtel or Vodafone does not have spectrum in those areas. So in those customer scenarios, if they can give a better spectrum to the industry, like what is done in US and many other countries, the industry can benefit from it. There could be whatever, I don't know what charging basis they can come out with, but at least a good spectrum will help the industry to use that power of both voice, video, and data on one platform. Otherwise, unlicensed band, I can run the data, but the voice becomes a challenge because the device is not supported. So a little better spectrum, if you can get maybe in a 10 megahertz range, it'll be good enough for most of the applications which we are doing in the industry today.
Well, sir, this is also a very long pending demand that why this thing that for every little, I think that's the case, for every little POC, Nokia has to go to the government again and again. Ab yahan spectrum de do, ab yahan license de do, ab yahan license de do, and that's again running after the same. You have to make a lot of rounds for that office, and you have to grease palms, and all those things are there. So, you yourself had raised this issue right at the beginning of this.
Yeah, Ibrahim ji, we are all responsible for this. I will give one example and then what I want to say. When the matter was under consideration to give spectrum to railways, there were 200 people sitting in the hall in tri-meeting. Everybody except TIMA were opposing to the extent that RS Sharma talked to me, अरे गोयल साहब एक आप ही सपोर्टर हो, बाकी सब तो अपोज कर रहे हैं. I have to tell him why I'm supporting, because my case was simple. Railway belongs to all of us, and all of them are trying to protect that nobody should else become the operator. Now here also, as of now,
railway is a slightly different case, because railway is in many ways is also seen as a competitor by some of those people who must have been opposing it there. But what about private organizations, large organizations?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Even now, why nobody is supporting our idea? Because if All India Medical Institute goes in for own network, own spectrum, then how does the business goes to a telecom operator? He suffers in terms of revenue, and he will have a strong argument. I have paid for spectrum, all those things, and give me level playing field, etc., etc. So the point is, if you do not do that thing, then I want to be very emphatic. Operators have done wonderful in India. What we are today is thanks to the operators. The only management is they will go where they find the viability. That is why after 75 years of independence, we are still not connected fully. That is why Mr. Prasad was saying that they don't get the areas which are connected. So the my say very simple, थोड़ी मोहब्बत छोड़ो और मोहब्बत करो, and let us if we promote this spectrum giving to these industries, सर बहुत डिमांड आएगी, इंडस्ट्री की डिमांड आएगी. आपकी डिमांड हीरो साइकिल्स की आएगी, मारुति की आएगी, हिंदुस्तान मोटर्स की आएगी, सबकी आएगी. आपकी रिलायंस की डिमांड भी आएगी, खैर वो तब भी कर सकता है, लेकिन सबकी डिमांड आएगी, सबको चाहिए. अब आप, और उसमें सबसे बड़ा फायदा ये है, मैं हिंदी में कह रहा हूँ, कि आपको इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कॉस्ट कम हो जाती है. आपको कमरा फ्री मिल जाएगा, साइट फ्री मिल जाएगी, टावर की जगह फ्री मिल जाएगी. और जहां तक सवाल अनकनेक्टेड एरियाज का है, सेम प्रॉब्लम प्रसाद जी, वी आर डिपेंडिंग ओनली ऑन टेलीकॉम ऑपरेटर. क्यों नहीं हम मेरा ये डायलॉग रहता है, क्यों नहीं हम पंचायत को ऑथराइज कर देते टू बिकम ए आईपी प्रोवाइडर एंड दे इंस्टॉल द टावर. I was very much supporting for white space, again objected by everybody to the nail. क्यों, हमारे बिजनेस का क्या होगा? आज जहां बिजनेस नहीं है, व्हाइट स्पेस तो हर जगह अवेलेबल है, उसका इक्विपमेंट अवेलेबल है, टेक्नोलॉजी अवेलेबल है, इंडिया में ट्राई हो चुका है. सो दीज आर द टू बेसिक पॉइंट वी कैन डू. If I get support, fine. Even if no support, I am going to raise it everywhere in the hope that maybe sometime, like in the case of Railway, Ibrahim ji, again I am saying nobody was supporting. Even I have to go to the minister asking, sir, आप क्यों इसको follow up नहीं कर रहे हैं? तो that was my only point. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. If there's one last point that somebody would like to bring up, we can take it. Otherwise, we can sort of call it a day now.
In fact, on the railways front, I just want to add a couple of things. The spectrum is only 5 megahertz. It's not 20 megahertz. It's a small spectrum. And it's primarily for safety of the train operations, not for any commercial angle as such. It is more of how we can make it railways more safer and more passenger friendly. So that was more of captive use rather than basically any commercial or competing with the telcos.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, sir.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. I think we have had a very good discussion. Obviously, it's a very, very hot topic. It's a very, in many ways, it's a topic on which people have their own views and opinions. So this discussion can go on and on. But I think some of the key points were taken up. Perhaps we will have more discussions going forward when we will individually take up some of these points and discuss them. So thank you once again. It was a very, very enriching discussion. And as you know, this discussion has been recorded and it will be shared with the entire telecom equipment, telecom service provider, and the telecom user fraternity. Thank you so much once again.